we talk a lot about this in terms of what is engineering anyways, what is product anyways, what is design anyways, and we've really landed on this concept of we want there always to be a captain of any given initiative, and the captain is the person where that skill set is the most important. And so there are lots of features. Let's say we need to overhaul a system in order to make it much easier for, let's say, PMs to ship and agents to work in that code base. Usually the captain is an engineering captain because that's an architectural change. If we have a feature where the interaction is really king, we're doing this really cool stuff on mobile to make it so easy and delightful to kind of like look at how you spend your time in a given day and get insights from that. That is more so than anything. It's a data problem, so we have data science really plugged in there, but really the interaction is the most important thing to really sweat and make sure it's delightful. And as a result, a designer is the captain of that work stream. And then something like what I just showed you, something like temporary initiatives, something like the empty states, really having deep customer understanding, but also business context is really important. How do I know what people want to do with temporary initiatives? How do I know what the user wants to do, but also how do I know what the firm really wants to get out of it and or not? And so what we spend a lot of time now thinking about is what is the most critical piece to nail for the outcome that we're looking for and therefore the feature that we're building? And as a result, how do we appoint a captain that is skilled in that particular area? And so that's generally how we think about the model evolving. And so going back to a feature that might touch the front end and the back end, if we believe that the back end is in a good enough spot, and by the way, you can ask Devin, or even like anything that's connected to your GitHub account to look at the code and say, in what state is this, right? And it actually gives you a pretty good answer. Hey, this is what I would be careful of. And then you can actually pull in engineering to on the parts where you're like, this is probably the most contentious, or this is where it gets the most risky. And again, you don't do this by yourself because you happen to be the most technical person. We're not. You do this through the help of asking, Claude Code to look at your code base. Cursor, whatever tool of choice you choose to use, you can ask it to really give you answers the same way that a marketer would say, look, I'm giving you some copy, now battle test this and go back and forth. It's the same concept. And then going back to, if you are clear on, again, what is the hardest thing to get right in a particular feature? For example, empty state. The empty state that we're working on here, the hardest part to get right is definitely not the engineering. The hardest part to get right is not even the design, it's the content. And again, the content has to do with the user and the business and the firm, and that is a very classic PM thing. And so it makes sense for the PM to be the captain of that. And so that's really the model we think about. Captains, using LLMs to essentially like ask how hard something can be. Obviously, we still, have code review, and we make sure that engineers are code reviewing the things that are risky. And so all of those pieces together makes it so that we can all ship, including, customer success, which is, again, really wild. And like go-to-market sales.
I'm notoriously bad at my inboxes. I guess there's a version of that where I seem cool and unavailable, but the reality is I miss sponsor emails, guest pitches, and stuff that my team actually needs me for. So I got an AI assistant. The sponsor of today's episode, Ariso. Ariso connects to my email, calendar, and Slack. Then I just chat with it over Slack, and it helps me with everything. It builds workflows to respond to emails, resolve customer issues, prep me for meetings. It actually comes to my meetings, updates its own knowledge, and remembers context from past conversations. So every time I talk to it, it already knows what I'm working on. I used to pay for Granola and Lindy separately. Ariso replaced both. One tool does more, and it lives right in Slack where I already work. Check it out at ariso.ai/Akash. That's ariso.ai/AAKASH. I hope you enjoyed that short clip. You can check out the full episode here.